Welcome to We Need to Talk, where we discuss how to find meaning in life and how to reduce dissatisfaction. In this episode, we're diving into the topic of DNA and how our DNA actually anticipates and wants us to struggle and suffer to a degree because that's what makes us grow. And we're also discussing whether we are able to negotiate with our instincts or whether we are simply slaves to them and we must follow them at all times or else we'll pay some sort of big price. So enjoy the episode and don't forget to subscribe. Let's go.
When you say the DNA is the goal is to live, it's to sort of like produce a human organism. Can we scientifically go any further to say not only does the genome anticipate to live, but actually experience something more than just existing?
Yes. Maybe the genome is something that is meant for existing, but adaptation and our living is based on experience. And experience is the epigenome because each experience, no matter how you gain it, by the bad or the good way, is something that influences the epigenome and the chemical modifications on DNA. So the genes are stable, they are deterministic, they make us what we are, who we are. They hold the key to our life because without genes we should not have proteins, we should not be living organisms. So the genes are the background on which we start to create our own images by chemical modifications. And the better we adapt to the surrounding environment, the faster we'll know how to react next time when something bad happens. So if we monitor our lives and our bodies, if we monitor and understand how everything influences us by simply self-observing ourselves, which means that you do something and then on the next day you feel in a certain way. If this is the way that suits you, that makes you happy, that makes you fit, that makes you feeling good, this is something that you can consider as a good surrounding stimuli that is happily changing your epigenome. So self-observation is something that everyone should perform, even during times of diseases. Some kind of a mere simple flu can pretty much make you understand the way your immune system reacts in a particular way of viral infection. So self-observation is something that everyone should do, no matter what he does or what he plans in his future life.
And I definitely agree with that. Like reflection, obviously, if you feel good, it's sort of an indication. It's a symptom that your body agrees with what you're doing. But then the question arises, sometimes in life, we need to undergo periods of suffering in order to grow and transform.
Yes.
How do we explain that? Is that because, if you're suffering for like a few months,
it's not the same like you suffer for years, right?
Yeah.
From an epigenetic point of view.
Right. I mean, I think everybody would prefer to suffer for less time.
Yeah,
but sometimes we really need that to become a stronger person. And actually, I might be a bit sort of rigid in my idea of that everything is to survive. We do most things to survive. But if you undergo like 3 months of suffering, you transform almost, and you'll have a higher survival rate because you're more resilient,
Exactly.
You're more confident, for example. But where do we draw the line in knowing, okay, this was good for me, these 3 months were good for me? Because sometimes people undergo 3 months of suffering, and then the 3 months of suffering continues, and they never leave it. They sort of drown in suffering for the rest of their life.
Yeah. So the meaning of suffering is also different. You can suffer because you don't have food. You can suffer because you don't have money. You can suffer because you decided to go hiking for 1 year in Africa, for example. Okay, this can be some kind of a suffering of your body. So you can suffer physically, you can suffer emotionally, you can suffer psychologically. There are many different sufferings. And when I say that you should self-observe yourselves, ourselves, means that it's important because you can suffer. Okay, let's say you don't have food for a certain period of time. From a biological perspective of view, this is not bad because sometimes you should feel hungry because this activates autophagy genes, which starts to clean your cells, and thus help you age healthily. So this autophagy slows down the process of aging. So this kind of suffering is good, but suffering which means without any food, so you are completely devoid of any energy, means that you should die. So you should put the meaning of suffering somewhere. You should define the suffering, because moderate levels of stress for the human organism are something pretty much good for the organism, because it keeps the genes, the cells, the organs, and the systems in our body fit. So you're ready to respond pretty much faster than if you stay in some kind of a golden conditions where you don't think about anything. This is not good. This is not something that we scientists recommend. So moderate levels of stress, which are called hormesis, also hormesis, means that you stay fit, you are ready to adapt. So this kind of suffering, like making yourself eat less, like making yourself walk in more, like making yourself doing more physical exercises, or stop to doing something that you like but you know that is not healthy, because this also can be some kind of a suffering for young people, and not only, are something that are stress conditions that keep you fit. So moderate levels of stress keep us fit, because this is from the very early years of human evolution. Because if the humans were not faced in front of different conditions, factors, and stuff that put them under stress, we should not survive, because these stress conditions allowed in the early times of our human evolution to adapt. And those who were able to adapt were able to continue the Homo sapiens way of living. So all these challenges that we face in our lives, that sometimes we accept as suffering, are moderate levels of stress which we should go through in order to self observe, in order to self monitor ourselves, and take the best solutions for us as human beings. Because our body speaks, everything speaks, and even shouts from inside out. And if we are able to hear it by just listening to our bodies, will be much more apt to adapt to the situations around us, which are very challenging recently, much faster, and in the most adequate, the better way for us as human beings.
Mm. When you say you need sort of a healthy level of stress to keep you fit, let's say, when you earlier on said that 1 in 4 young couples struggle with reproducing nowadays, what if, I'm just going to draw a hypothetical situation and I want
Okay.
to hear what you think. What if the environment is changing so much too fast that only a small percentage of humans will be able to, I don't necessarily want to say survive, but will be able to thrive. And then you have a large percentage of humans that exist, but they are kind of numb and they are sort of ill in some sense. And as time goes along, they will die off. And then you have like a really small filter where only few humans get through. Because what jumps to my mind is like, as you said, the environment is changing so fast, and people aren't listening to how their body is feeling.
No,
And
Unfortunately.
yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big problem.
It is a big problem, of course, but we should know that human genetics is very resilient. We've went through so many difficult, complicated, and challenging situations that if things and changes happen so fast, as you say, so some cohort of the population will stay unadapted, numb, and will simply decrease, is something that probably will never happen because human genes adapt pretty fast. So no matter the environmental stimuli, people went through really big disasters. The Dutch hunger at the end of the Second World War was something that was terrible, by the way. So these epigenetic changes that happened during these days of genocides influenced the epigenome, of course, gave some medical complications after that and predisposition to very pathological situations generations after in the Dutch population, which is also one of the most excellent examples of epigenetics. But yet human beings adapted, and they adapted because these genes are meant to survive. And we have all these repair systems that when they act perfectly well, we have the best chances to survive no matter what we have. Of course, there are really big disasters. If an asteroid hits the Earth, nobody, no matter how fast you adapt, nobody will be able to survive. This is some kind of a disaster that we cannot control. But all the other changing conditions are something that we very much have the possibility to control and to adapt ourselves to. So the genes are resilient. And this is depending also on the epigenetics, because all these systems for DNA repair are so sophisticated and they're on a so high level that even we scientists yet cannot understand how all these millions of factors joined together just to repair one single DNA break that has the potential to lead to a mutation and has the potential to even lead to the death of a human organism. So we are resilient. That's why I say self-observation, because if you definitely follow your responses to the surrounding environment and you know what's happening with your body, this is the first step for your personalized way of adaptation. And this is something that all people should start to practice, because all these practices like I'll go hiking, I'll go meditating, I'll go meeting friends that I'm will spending pretty excellent worth time together is something that again is coming from the inside of yourself, because you feel that these periods are very important for you because you go through this kind of transformation, you feel good, you feel you share your emotions. This is also some kind of adaptation to our surrounding environment.
So
But
you're
we're
optim
resilient, don't worry.
so you're
we
very
can we can
optimistic.
survive, we can survive. We are the champions, the human beings.
Good. Okay, I like that optimism. Nice. I have a different question. With a lot of modern people like to think that they have freedom of choice and that they can sort of behave how they want. Do you think that, I mean, I have this idea that the instincts we have are so ancient and so deep within us that if we don't follow them, our body will communicate to us, what the hell are you doing? And we experience some sort of psychopathologies like anxiety or depression or something like that. I mean, do you agree with that? That we don't really have much free will?
Oh, this free will, okay, the instincts are also shaped by our genes. These instincts, if you think about the way you've been raised in your family, the way you've been forced to read certain books and so on and so on, you form these instincts. There's nothing that comes from outside, from the sky, just to make us following one or the other instinct. These are the biological instincts that are inside us. One of it is curiosity. Is also you curious just to know yourself, to see how you're gonna adapt, how you're gonna interact interact with the new conditions. So these kind of instincts are in the core of human evolution, because they force you to develop, they force you to meet with people, they force you to do things. And yes, you should resign, okay, to these instincts, but with the thought that, okay, whatever I'm gonna do, influenced by these instincts, will change somehow my genes, and will change somehow my body, will change somehow my epigenome. So the more you know about the human biology, the more you're gonna moderate, let's not say control, moderate these instincts. And you can put will, you can put mind, and you can put your body in chasing these instincts, okay?
Yeah.
This is my philosophy. So I'm also curious. I'm a human being. I'm also like to follow my instincts, but I really want to feel the will to resist if I feel that one or the other of the instincts that are inside us can damage somehow the biology of my thinking, the biology of my living, the biology of my being, and the biology of my children. So I feel responsible. And this is the will where it comes from. And this is the will that is in the core of the surviving of Homo sapiens during millions of years of evolution. When these Asian people have been exposed to so harsh conditions of living that now, if we modern humans are put for one day under these conditions, we will die immediately, because we have everything. But these people were striving, were following their instincts for surviving. And this also was interacting all the time with the curiosity to see what's behind this corner, the curiosity to see what's behind this mountain. But wise people say that you should be very careful.
Uh-huh. Um, yeah, I like the word moderating. So you're
Moderating, yes.
it's a good balance. And with instincts, I'm like referring to, for example, the instinct to reproduce, like a very basic one. Do you think now this is where it gets a bit difficult, or a bit one needs to be a bit careful. There's a trend for let's say women to become a question a lot more whether they, let's say, need children or they want children. Like it's I don't know if I think it's a modern sort of phenomenon.
It's a trend, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think on average, so we're talking here about, so on average, do you think on average, if a woman chooses not to have children, okay, let me first hypothesize and see what
Okay,
you
okay,
how
okay,
you
go
reply.
on.
So I hypothesize, or I've heard this idea. I don't necessarily stand behind it, but
Okay.
that if on average women choose not to have children, that their body communicates to them afterwards, or is confused and produces some kind of suffering afterwards.
Yeah. Which is induced by the mother instinct.
Uh-huh.
If we link this with the instincts, with the mother instinct, because inside us women, this mother instinct is there, no matter whether it's sleeping or no matter whether it's pushed to be silenced, it's inside. And there is no single woman, I'm sure about it, when she sees a baby, to don't get really, really gentle and to don't have this mother instinct awaken all of a sudden. So I don't, okay, this is a personal choice to have or to don't have children. Maybe some of the women are just afraid because the world is changing too fast and nobody knows now how to educate their children, because the moral, everything, the ethics, everything changed in the contemporary world, and it's changed in not in the best way. All the social media that led to this social dilemma now, that how we're gonna live. So we are so much social in the social media and in the streets, we cannot communicate because we forgot how to be human beings, how to interact with each other, which is a very, very important problem nowadays. And mothers, even myself as a mother, sometimes I accuse myself of raising my daughter, for example, as very noble, very smart, very intelligent, very, how to say, diplomatic person. In the modern world where proactive people are just on the front line, sometimes I see her underestimating herself because she tries to learn more, to study more, and this prevents her of being proactive and being on the front line. So I also have my fears how to educate my child. But I think that it's not good because the mother is evolutionary determined to give a birth to a child, and this is maybe the best thing one woman should do in life. Of course, this is a personal choice, but from a perspective of view of a scientist, as you already said, a PhD and a professor and whatever, I can say that the child should not prevent you of being whoever you want to be in the professional field. So if you follow your instincts to be a mother, and you follow your instincts of curiosity to be a scientist, for example, nothing can prevent you if you want to. So this tendency or trend also to give birth at later stages of your life is something that probably will change later on, because we will understand, and we know from a scientific point of view, but people yet don't know that it's not good. Okay, so human evolution is made exactly for this, to reproduce. Of course, this should not be the leading cause of your living on this planet, not at all, but this is part of your life. So you should do this mission after all. And the earlier you do it, the better for the child from an epigenetic point of view, because our living is exposed to many mutations from the factors from the surrounding environment. Even the sun outside can induce mutations in our DNA. So these mutations accumulating in our bodies, not being repaired, are a potential of a bomb after that, which can lead to genetic disease. So the older you get, the more mutations you get, and even your sex cells also get mutated. So this is something you transmit to your next children. So many things should be reconsidered, because yes, the modern trends are there. Okay, we can give birth at later stages of our life, but this is something against nature, and no one is the biggest creator of nature. I hold all the knowledge on genetics and epigenetics, and yet I bow on my knees in front of the genuity of the mother nature, because yet we don't understand many of the processes that happen in a single cell, not even talking about a human organism that is consisting of 100 trillion of cells. So nobody knows who is moderating this magic of everything functioning so well. The genes, the epigenomes, everything is so much complicated that I think that even millions of years of study yet will not be able to read the code of life.
Mm. Do you ever have do you okay do you ever have do you ever look for answers to explain science outside of science? Like, do you ever, but as you said, it's so complex, and I mean, I think if somebody who's dedicated to the truth will understand that we know very little about the universe and about ourselves, even that there is something. Do you ever try to explain the phenomenon of life with other explanations or any other ideas?
Of course, I'm looking for them also, like everyone person on Earth, probably, because science only gives me answers to some questions which are related to the biology. But when we go to consciousness, to subconsciousness, is something that we should definitely realize that it's not easy to be understood only by mere science. So there are many other powers which yet we don't understand, and I believe in this. Even the universe, the biology, I even say that even the nucleus where the genome sits in the cell is a universe for us geneticists, because yet we don't know how all the regions of the genome are arranged in this universe, the nucleus. Just imagine what happens in the galaxy or in the universe per se. So yes, myself particularly, look for answers everywhere, everywhere, even in religion. Why not? Okay, even in esoteric practices, in many things everyone should look for, because yes, science is everywhere, and even in religion there is a lot of science. Even in esoteric practices there is a lot of science. So I think that life is one symbiosis of not only science but of many other factors that yet we cannot understand pretty well. But I think this is the magic of life, because if you know everything about life, you will not be interested to live it, right?
Mm.
So better have unanswered questions, otherwise it will be quite boring, for example. And we should not get this stress that will keep us fit for the next challenge that comes.
Mm. Awesome.